Hey guys, you're welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about a very important topic and also sensitive topic. Fear. I've had this fear for a long time. Fear of losing, fear of failing, fear of stepping into the unknown. But today, I want to talk about fear in a way that we will not just understand it, but we'll also talk about tips on how to conquer it. I'll share a personal story with you guys. In 2020, when COVID happened, my husband and I were pregnant multiple times, and we lost the pregnancies multiple times. There was even one where we were pregnant with twins. We're pregnant with twins up until second trimester before we had to finally say goodbye to the babies. And it was rough for us. Fast forward to 2021, we decided to try again, but this time was through IVF. And after a couple of attempts, we were blessed with a viable embryo that led to the birth of our son today. That pregnancy journey was an interesting one because, guys, I was afraid every day that I was going to lose the pregnancy. But for me, I was held bound. I was trapped in my own fear, knowing that we've been here multiple times and anything could happen. In my profession, what could go wrong? A lot of things could go wrong. So let me pause there. What are you afraid of? Fear of failing? Fear of losing in life? Fear of not making it? Fear of not driving Bentley, that exotic ride? What are you afraid of? Fear of leaving? In my case, I was afraid of losing the pregnancy. And this was based on my past experience, was based on my past trauma of losing multiple pregnancies. So I was afraid every day. And my fear almost even happened. I remember around 5 weeks, when we were pregnant that in 2021, around 5 weeks into the pregnancy, I started bleeding one night. Heavy bleeding. I was soaking the sanitary pads. And I was like, okay, we thought we lost the pregnancy. But guess what? The next day when we finally made it to the clinic, the baby was fine. The baby was fine. I asked us a question, what are we afraid of? What is the source of the fear? Because it's important for us to understand the source before we even get into how to conquer our fear. What is the source of our fear? Is it the news that we listen to or watch every day? Is it coming from the company of friends that we keep? Is it coming from our lifestyle? Is it coming from the society? Movies? Social media these days? We all watch those reels. Or is it even the people on our phone? Like if you're an international person or you have family outside of the country, in our case, I'm from Nigeria and I have family members in Nigeria. So I get to use this app called WhatsApp. And the app allows people to share a lot of things. And I've had to block a lot of people because of the content that they get to share. So what is the source of the fear? Past trauma? Because if you don't really understand the source, you might not be the source of your fear. You might not be able to address it. So it also doesn't stop at understanding the fear. Now that we know what the source is, and even if you don't know, you may need to talk to someone to help you understand the source of your fear. There's a saying about what you feed grows. So once we know the source of our fear, we need to stop feeding it and start replacing it with healthy thoughts or healthy actions. So for me, throughout the pregnancy, I was afraid I was going to lose the baby every day. So I couldn't share the news. I couldn't post on Instagram. And we were all under lockdown. So luckily, we could hide the pregnancy. And not that we were not excited, we were happy, but it was difficult for us to share the news with a lot of people because we were afraid of losing the pregnancy, especially me. My husband was fine telling anybody that wants to hear because he was excited. But for me, I was held bound. I was trapped in my own fear, knowing that we've been here multiple times and anything could happen. My colleagues didn't even know I was pregnant until when I was ready to leave for parental leave. That was when I made the announcement. Because I didn't want to break anybody's heart. I was like, if I was going to lose the pregnancy, I might as well just contain the news so that I don't have to explain to people that, oh, by the way, this happened. So, was not ready to tell anybody. But then, I got to a point where I was like, for how long am I going to continue to live in fear? Yes, I've had multiple miscarriages that made me to start feeling this way, that led to me feeling this way. But those were in the past. How am I going to break this mental loop? So I started taking actions. I remember then I would sit down, go online and start looking at baby items, like started watching YouTube videos on nesting, packing hospital bags. I would go to the mall with my mask on, buying baby things, something to just excite myself. I don't really like parties, but guess what? I organized gender reveal party. It's like, we're gonna do gender reveal. I started taking pictures, not professional pictures, but with my phone, after church service, I would ask my husband to take my picture. Then I was like, you know what? What am I afraid of? That I was going to lose the pregnancy? Heck no, that's not happening. So guess what I did? I started posting on Instagram because I was following people that the moment they knew they were pregnant, they told us. They posted about it like, baby XYZ coming in fall, summer of 2020 something. So what made me think that I was going to lose mine? So I decided to start posting on Instagram. I started going to the gym. I worked out a lot throughout the pregnancy. Started posting videos of me working out at the gym. I'll get messages like, leave the gym right now. I'm like, no, I'm not losing this pregnancy. It's not happening. So I started taking those actions. My fear began to fizzle away. So that was why I said it's important to understand the source of your fear and then stop feeding it. For some of you, it may be the circle of friends that you keep, maybe the company of friends that you keep that are feeding your fear. If that's the case, you need to start saying bye-bye to those friends and cutting them off. For some of you, it may be from the type of things that you get to watch on a daily basis, the type of music that you listen to. You need to start changing those playlists. and start replacing them with the playlist of things that strengthens you. Some of you might be afraid of living, or they might be afraid of dying. You need to start watching videos about healthy living and how people live long. So what is the source? Now that I know the source of my fear, what are the steps I need to take to stop feeding the source? The other thing I'll also say is consider talking to people about it or seeking professional help. You may need to go to therapy. You may need to talk to your pastor about it if you go to church. You may need to share with your partner, and not just share with them. Take steps on how to conquer them. The other thing I will share is sometimes you may need to start taking actions that are directly the opposite of what your fear is suggesting to you. So there was a time in my life many years back when I was writing ICANN. ICANN is a professional exam for chartered accountants in Nigeria. It's similar to CPA here in the US. And at the time then, there were 6 levels of exams that you need to sit for and pass before you get certified as a chartered accountant in Nigeria at the time. And for me, I passed the first 5 levels without failing. And even prior to that time, I've never failed in my life. I've never failed an exam, rather. So when I was writing the last part of the exam, which was the level 6 or whatever that was, I failed. I failed the exam. And I think there were 4 papers. I failed one of them, and I've never failed before. So it was new to me. I didn't know how to navigate it, you know. So there might be things that you're going through right now that you don't really know how to navigate. And that's why I mentioned that you may need to seek professional help. Go to therapy. Talk to someone who is seasoned in the area to help you, you know. So for me, I've never failed. And I remember that night when I saw the results, I was not going to eat. I was not going to sleep. I was crying. And all of a sudden, and I was like, does any of this solve the problem? No. So guess what I did? I'm like, you know what? Let me make food. And that was the first baby step. So I made food. And I ate. After eating, I was like, instead of crying right now that I feel, I started dancing. I danced. I danced a lot that night. And then by the time I was done, I was tired and I just went to bed. So the next day, I was like, okay, yes, it failed. What are we going to do next? We're going to sit for the exam. And how am I going to sit for it? So I share that experience with you to think about what are the opposite actions that you need to take. I mean, fear tells you to stay silent. Then it's time to speak up. If your fear tells you to isolate yourself, it's time to go call a friend. Look for people. Do the exact opposite of what your fear tells you to do. And this will help you break the vicious mental loop. And also guard your heart. You know, guard your environment. Guard your heart. You need to protect your mind. Once you know the source, stop feeding it. You need to protect your mind. Don't be afraid of people. Don't be afraid of what people would say. Because their opinion do not matter. The people that you're afraid of are also busy looking for ways to navigate their lives. Fear can keep us stuck for years. That is the honest truth. If we don't face it, it can keep us stuck for years. And newsflash, most of the things that we're afraid of never happened. So why are we wasting our energy feeding the fear? And that's why, like I said, it's important for us to identify the source, stop feeding it, let's stop wasting our energy, let's talk to people about it, find ways to conquer it. Before you leave today, what fear do you need to face today? Drop a comment below. And not just that, what are the plans that you're going to take to confront your fear? I can't wait to read those comments, because we might end up sitting together going over your plans and also sharing those tips with many people out there. And before I leave, I'm going to pray for you. I pray that God will surround you with people that will help you, that will hold your hands through whatever you may be going through right now. I pray that God will open your eyes to see the help that you're surrounded by. I pray that God gives you the grace and the strength to overcome your fear, to face your fear. I'm facing mine right now by sitting in front of this camera, recording this video, because I don't even know if I know what I'm doing. But guess what? I really want to talk. I really want to help. And I hope that as I'm sitting here, continue to help, getting tips from people, I'm going to get better at it. I'm going to get better at it, and you will see it. All right? Before you leave, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe, share, and like. Thank you, and talk to you later.